He was a ghost, a shadow, a whisper in a crowded room, unnoticed and unheard. His name was Arthur, and his life was a study in unremarkableness. He blended seamlessly into the background, content in his anonymity. Arthur craved no spotlight, sought no applause. He found solace in the quiet rhythm of his ordinary existence. His days were filled with routine, the familiar commute, the predictable tasks at his desk job, the silent evenings spent in his modest apartment. He was invisible, yet he felt seen by the world around him, appreciated for the simplicity of his being. Little did he know, this quiet life was about to undergo a seismic shift, transforming him from an anonymous face in the crowd to the object of the world's desire. It began innocently enough, a whimsical purchase from a dusty apothecary. Arthur had always been a collector of oddities, and this quaint little shop was a treasure trove of curiosities. Among the shelves of peculiar items, a small bottle caught his eye. A love potion, the label proclaimed, promising to ignite the fires of passion and desire in the heart of anyone who consumed it. Arthur chuckled at the absurdity of it, yet a flicker of curiosity ignited within him. Could such a thing truly exist? The idea was both ridiculous and intriguing. He imagined, for a fleeting moment, what it would be like to be noticed, to be desired. The thought lingered in his mind, a tantalizing possibility that he couldn't quite shake off. That night, with a mixture of amusement and apprehension, he added a single drop of the potion to his evening tea. He watched as the liquid swirled and mixed, wondering if anything would actually happen. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. As soon as he took a sip, he felt a rush of sensations. A warmth coursed through his veins, a tingling sensation that spread from his core to the tips of his fingers. It was as if his entire body was awakening to a new reality. He looked in the mirror, half expecting to see a physical transformation. Would he look different? More attractive, perhaps? There was none. He looked exactly the same, yet everything had changed. The reflection staring back at him was familiar, but the world around him felt different. He could feel it in the air, a palpable shift in the atmosphere around him. It was as if the very essence of his being had been altered. The invisible man was about to become very, very visible. Arthur had no idea what awaited him, but he was about to find out. The change was swift and disorienting, like being caught in a whirlwind with no time to find his footing. Overnight, Arthur went from being utterly unremarkable to undeniably captivating, as if a switch had been flipped and the world suddenly took notice. People he had passed countless times without a second glance now stopped in their tracks, mesmerized by his presence, as if seeing him for the first time. His phone, once silent, buzzed incessantly with calls from unknown numbers, each ring a reminder of his newfound status. His inbox overflowed with messages of admiration, affection, and outright obsession, each one more intense than the last. He was bombarded with attention from all sides, suffocated by the relentless adoration that seemed to come from every direction. Every word he uttered was met with rapturous applause, every glance interpreted as a sign of deep affection, leaving him feeling both flattered and overwhelmed. He was the latest sensation, the object of the world's collective infatuation, a role he never sought but couldn't escape. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound fame, a seed of unease began to grow, a discomfort that gnawed at him despite the adoration. The attention, initially exhilarating, quickly became a burden, a heavy cloak of expectation he never asked for and didn't know how to shed, leaving him feeling trapped and yearning for the anonymity he once had. His life became a whirlwind of public appearances, photo shoots, and interviews. He was whisked away to lavish parties, showered with extravagant gifts, and pursued by the rich and famous. The world was his oyster, yet Arthur felt like a prisoner in a gilded cage. The joy he once found in the simple things, a quiet evening with a book, a morning stroll in the park, was now out of reach. His every move was documented, scrutinized, and dissected by an insatiable public. He was no longer Arthur, the quiet observer. He was now a commodity, a brand, an object to be consumed and adored. The weight of this realization settled heavily on his soul, casting a shadow over the shiny veneer of his newfound fame. The novelty of constant attention soon wore thin, revealing the hollow nature of his manufactured desirability. People were drawn to him not for who he was, but for the intoxicating aura created by the potion. Their affection felt synthetic, lacking the depth and genuineness he craved. He yearned for genuine connection, for conversations that delved beyond superficial compliments. He longed to be seen for the man behind the mask of manufactured charm, to be loved for the quiet soul that resided beneath the surface. But the potion had erected an invisible barrier between him and the world, a barrier woven from infatuation and superficiality. He was trapped in a paradox, simultaneously the most desired man in the world and the loneliest. The pressure to maintain the facade of effortless perfection became increasingly unbearable. The world demanded an idealized version of him, a flawless being incapable of error or vulnerability. He was expected to be witty and charming at all times, to have a solution for every problem, and to embody an unattainable level of charisma. The constant scrutiny chipped away at his sense of self, replacing it with a carefully constructed persona designed to please the masses. He became a stranger to himself, lost in the labyrinth of public expectations. The man who once found solace in his ordinariness was now imprisoned by the extraordinary, yearning for the freedom to simply be. The toll of his manufactured popularity was immense. His health deteriorated under the strain of constant public scrutiny. He suffered from insomnia, haunted by the fear of disappointing his adoring fans. His once healthy appetite dwindled, replaced by a gnawing anxiety that manifested in a constant knot in his stomach. He withdrew from the few genuine connections he had, fearing their judgment of his predicament. He became isolated, his world shrinking to the confines of his luxurious apartment, which felt more like a gilded cage than a sanctuary. The price of fame, he realized, was far greater than he ever imagined, a Faustian bargain that had cost him his health, his peace of mind, and his very soul. Word of Arthur's plight eventually leaked to the public, sparking a wave of sympathy and concern. The world, initially captivated by his manufactured charm, was now moved by his very human struggle. What began as a global obsession morphed into a global effort to help the man they had inadvertently imprisoned. Scientists from renowned institutions dedicated themselves to finding an antidote to the love potion, their research fueled by a collective desire to right a wrong. Social media, once abuzz with adoration for Arthur, was now flooded with messages of support and encouragement. People from all walks of life rallied behind him, united in their empathy for the man trapped behind the curtain of manufactured desire. After months of relentless research, a groundbreaking discovery emerged from a small, unassuming lab nestled in the picturesque landscapes of Switzerland. A dedicated team of chemists, working tirelessly day and night, developed an antidote to the infamous love potion. This concoction was meticulously designed to neutralize its potent effects and return Arthur to his former state of blissful anonymity. The news of this scientific marvel spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the globe. It ignited a beacon of hope in Arthur's weary heart, a heart that had grown tired of the relentless adoration and attention. Without a moment's hesitation, Arthur agreed to undergo the treatment. He was eager to shed the artificial skin of manufactured charm that had enveloped him and reclaim the quiet, unassuming life he once took for granted. The antidote, administered intravenously by skilled hands, began to work its magic. The effects were slow and subtle, a gentle unraveling of the enchantment that had held him captive. Gradually, the constant buzz of attention that had surrounded him began to fade away. It was replaced by a comforting silence, a silence that felt like a long-lost friend returning home. The weight of 1,000 adoring eyes lifted from his shoulders, allowing him to breathe deeply for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Arthur felt a profound sense of relief and newfound freedom, as if he had been given a second chance at life. As the effects of the potion dissipated, Arthur felt a sense of peace settle over him. The world gradually forgot its infatuation, moving on to the next fleeting sensation. The calls stopped, the messages ceased, the crowds dispersed. He was free to rebuild his life, to rediscover the simple joys that had once brought him contentment. He returned to his modest apartment, finding comfort in its familiarity. He took long walks in nature, reveling in the anonymity of the crowds. He reconnected with old friends, rediscovering the beauty of genuine connection. He had journeyed through the tumultuous storm of manufactured desire and emerged on the other side, forever changed by the experience, yet grateful for the wisdom it had bestowed. Arthur was once again invisible, a face in the crowd, unnoticed and unremarkable. Yet he had never felt so seen, so understood. He carried the weight of his experience with quiet grace, a silent testament to the fleeting nature of fame and the enduring power of authenticity. He had learned that true happiness lay not in the adoration of millions, but in the quiet contentment of a life lived on his own terms. He embraced his ordinariness, finding solace in the freedom of invisibility. He was Arthur, the man who had danced with fame and returned, forever changed, to the comforting embrace of anonymity. And in that quiet space, he found true peace.